Hey guys, so I just got done watching Nightmare Cinema on Vudu. Anybody remember Vudu? No, not the black magic shit. I'm talking about the movie streaming service Vudu, VUDU. Anybody remember that? I said I fucking barely forgot that was a thing until like I was searching this movie and trying to find where to fucking watch it, and they said, "Oh, it's on Vudu." And I'm like, I don't know if I have Vudu, and I'm like. It's on my PS4. I'm like, okay, fuck it. And it's only on Vudu for like a dollar. So I'm like, all right, this movie sucks. I watched it for like a dollar. So I'm like, it's like a 48-hour rental. So usually when I do these horror movie reviews for the month of October, I always try to find a movie that is lesser known, but also has gotten really well received by critics. And usually also I kind of like because this is one of my favorite genres of horror movies, I also always like to try to find an anthology horror movie to review, and this kind of just checked off both boxes. Like, this was an easy fucking movie to pick out, and this is a movie I heard a lot about quite a bit about during the summer when it came out briefly in like limited release. I don't even think it came anywhere near me at all. Like, I don't even know where the fuck it was released, but it was a movie that I had heard been getting good reviews, and every time like there was like a list of like best horror movies that come out this year, it was always on it was always on those lists, and I was like, okay, I'm kind of curious. It's been getting like really, really well received. It's an anthology horror movie, and I looked at like who was involved in it. I'm like, I'll get into that when I talk about the review, but I'm like, all right, this sounds like kind of interesting because it's got talented people behind the camera and in front of the camera. So it looks like this actually could be a decent little horror film. And also, like, the poster for this movie was what kind of stuck out to me. I was like, oh, it's a striking enough of an image. If you see, look, just type up the poster for Nightmare Cinema if you haven't seen it. So I went in with an open mind. I had no idea what to expect. I knew what the plot was, but I was like, I didn't know what to expect. I was like, I had some high expectations and a little bit high expectations because of how well received it's been getting. It's only like 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got, like I said, pretty damn good reviews from critics. And, yeah, I liked it. It's like, yeah, I liked it. It's not a perfect movie. It falls under a lot of the same traps that a lot of anthology horror movies do, where there are stories that work and there are stories that don't. And it's like there's a mixture of both. And that's usually what happens with a lot of horror movies. The only anthology horror movie I could ever think of that was probably as perfect as they can get was Creepshow, in my opinion. That had every single story on that movie was really good. Like, that's one of the few times I've ever seen an anthology horror movie that succeeded and have every story be actually really good. This one had some really good ones, and then had some not so good ones. But it was fun. I liked it. This is a genre of horror movies I wish would come back and make a renaissance. And it kind of is and isn't, but it's a lot of low budget movies that do these. But I wish that we would get a mainstream anthology horror movie again. But that's just me. But anyways, as far as the actual movie and talking about the actual movie, which I'm sure people that are watching this like, what the fuck is Nightmare Cinema? It's a movie where a group of strangers kind of walk into this abandoned movie theater. That's where they just randomly walk into this movie theater, and they whenever they come in, like the projection of the movie theater, projectionist of the movie theater, played by Mickey fucking Rourke, plays like their nightmares on the big screen, and it's like a bunch of horrific stories about nightmare situations that they are involved in, and it's unclear what the fuck Mickey Rourke is. Is he the devil, or is he death, or what the hell is he? He's just dressed up like Mickey Rourke. It's awesome. It's Mickey Rourke, so it's like he's very like he is like the star of the movie. Like he got the marquee of this movie, but he's in it very little because like he doesn't really even pop up as the projectionist until like this after the second story has ended. And like he only has very little dialogue, but he's Mickey Rourke and he's fucking awesome. But as far as the stories go, I'll review each one as like talk about each one and like here a bit. The first story is The Thing in the Woods, and this one is directed by I don't even know what Alejandro Bruges. I don't know. I know I'm saying that name wrong. He apparently made a movie called Juan of the Dead. I never heard of this, and I want to see this now. Juan of the Dead. It's apparently like a parody of Shaun of the Dead, like Shaun of the Dead, but if it's Mexico. That's hilarious. Like, apparently it's really good. Apparently it's got good reviews, so I'm like, that's fucking hilarious. So anyways, the story starts out, the short story starts out, and you're thrown right into a middle of a slasher movie in progress. Like, it begins with this woman with blood all over her, running through the woods, finding all the charred remains of her best friends that have been killed by this guy who's named the Welder, who's wearing a welding mask, and is chasing her through the woods, and her boyfriend and her remaining friends. And it's like, okay, so you're doing like a slasher film, and weirdly enough, like I said, when it first starts out, you're like, okay, so we're not even given any introduction to these characters. It's just like thrown right into it. I'm like, okay, that's different and a little bit jarring, but there's a reason behind it. I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a reason behind it because there's a twist to it. It's not what you think it is. I was just this is kind of getting spoiler territory, but it isn't. It's where the killer is actually the hero in the story. It's kind of turns on the whole story on its head towards the end, and reveals a little bit. It's pretty cool, like that, like. It's revealed like the killer's the actual hero in the story. I was like, alright, that's kind of fucking different. But then it also throws another twist in there that kind of just throws a little too many twists too many, because when this other twist is revealed, I won't say what, it kind of goes into a little too campy territory with some really, really bad CGI. As this movie has a lot of really good practical effects and a lot of shitty CGI effects, and like mixed in at the same time. And it's like a mixture of both throughout the whole movie. But like, this is a story that was pretty cool. Like, I felt like it kind of petered off towards the end, but like, I did like the twist about the killer and everything else like that. I won't spoil it too much, but it's pretty cool. I liked it. I thought it was different. The second story was actually my personal favorite of the 5. There's 5 stories. It's called Marrere, and it's directed by Joe motherfucking Dante. Joe Dante, if you don't know who he is, he's the guy who made Gremlins, one of my favorite movies of all time. Honestly, still is. And it's one of those things where I was like, Joe Dante is directing a fucking story in here? Holy shit, I have not seen Joe Dante do anything in a long damn time. And this is a story where this girl who has a scar on her face, like this really noticeable scar on her face since she was a child for a car accident, is engaged to this like man, and they're having like this very happy couple, and she wants to have a perfect wedding, and she is like obviously insecure about her looks, even though she's a beautiful woman. And because of the scar, and even there's like this sweet conversation. The story starts off great, where there's a sweet conversation between her and her fiance, where he's telling her, looks don't mean anything. You're beautiful just the way you are. Yada yada yada. And then 2 seconds later, he goes, "I could also recommend you to my mom's plastic surgeon." I died. Like, it was like, he's like, it's up to you. I mean, if you want to. I'm like, what the fuck? What a condescending asshole. And I'm like, why is it? Like, of course this girl goes with it. I'm like, you're an idiot. Like, Bernie's like, you're a fucking moron. But I'm like, but then the movie turns into like a straight horror movie as this plastic surgery place is fucking crazy. It's really sinister, obviously, because it's a horror movie, and it's like creepy and fun, and I enjoy. I like the doctor as a plastic surgeon. I thought he was really fucking creepy. He was like reminding me of like a older version of Dieter Laser from Human Centipede. Like the way he was acting and hamming it up. Maybe not as much as Dieter Laser, but he was holding a little bit back compared to Dieter Laser. But yeah, I thought I liked it, and then like the final reveal of what happens to that poor girl. Holy shit! I was like, yikes! It goes total. This is just kind of like a spoiler, but it goes full Total Recall. That's all I'm gonna say at one point. And I'm like, what the fuck? You don't know what I mean when you see it. That's all I'm gonna say. This was my favorite story of the 5, honestly. Period. I love this story. It was fun. It was like, I was like curious as where it was going, what the end result was gonna be, and I was not disappointed. I was like, I'm so glad to see Joe Dante and doing something again. The next one was called Mashit. Not making that up. Mashit. That's the name. Mashit. It's from a director who made the Midnight Meat Train. I've never actually seen that movie, but I heard it wasn't very good. And this is a weird fucking story. This is like where the movie kind of fell apart, but also was kind of one of the better stories too at the same time, where it's a story about this reverend who runs this Catholic school who's being taken over by a demon, and the children are being possessed by this demon, and it's really fucking crazy. It's a really weird story, and I don't want to spoil too much about it. It results in one of the bloodiest finales I've seen in all these fucking stories. And it's like one of the most ridiculous fucking finales I've ever seen to any movie, not even just like story-wise in a anthology horror movie. It's like has one of the most ridiculous finales that like, and it's set like to this orchestral rock music, and I don't know why. Like, it's like, what was the point of that? I don't know, but it's like it was making like using these guitar riffs and shit like that. I was fucking dying. I'm like, every time like there was like this really heavy rock music playing in the background while this bizarre shit was going on screen, I was cracking up throughout the whole majority of it. Like I said, this was kind of where the movie started to fall apart, but also was kind of fun at the same time, because like this was kind of in the middle story. Like I said, if it wasn't for that finale, I would probably. It also features like the demon on the poster that you see is in this story, and it looks horrible. Like the CGI looks horrible. They put it in daylight, and oh my god, does it look bad. The next story, The Way to Egress, who's directed by David Slade, the guy who made 30 Days a Night. Anybody remember that fucking movie? Piece of shit vampire movie where it was like 30 days, or taking place during like the 30 Days a Night in Alaska, where vampires are taking over the town and killing everybody. Well, this one was... I hated this story. I've seen critics love this story. I thought it was a piece of shit. Like, this is like an artistic, pretentious bullshit story that I could not fucking get into. It's about a woman who is going to see a psychiatrist who sees the world as ugly, and she is like contemplating suicide, and this is her way of dealing with grief of her husband leaving her, or some bullshit, and it's really fucking dumb. It's so pretentious, and you can even tell it's more even pretentious when it's like in black and white. Anything pretentious anymore is like in black and white, and it's like fuck you. I don't give a shit. Like this, like I really hated this story. I did. It's so pretentious. It's so up its own ass. I didn't care for it, man. It has some pretty cool visuals. And then, like, okay, when I heard this movie was when I heard about this movie, one of the things I saw that attracted me was that Patrick Wilson was going to be in this movie, and he's in this story. I'm not making this up. He had to have the easiest paycheck out of anybody, even more than Mickey Rourke, where all he had to fucking do is he was the voice of the husband in this story, who the woman calls briefly, and all you do is hear his voice. He doesn't even have to show up, and he probably got one of the easiest paychecks of his life. I'm like, why the fuck did you get Patrick Wilson then? Like, you could have got anybody. I'm sure, like, he was, they had to spend a little bit of money to get him. I mean, I know he's not that big of an actor, but still, I mean, he did the Conjuring movies and the Insidious movies, and those are pretty big movies. But it's like, I hated that story, man. And I was like, God, that was not my kind of thing. But then, like, the movie ended on kind of a high note with the last story, which was called Dead. It was directed by Mick Garris, the guy who made fucking Sleepwalkers. If you've never seen Sleepwalkers, fucking stop what you're doing and watch that now. You will not. The Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. It's one of the most what the fuck Stephen King were you smoking when you made this? That movie Sleepwalkers. Fucking go watch it. But anyways, it's about this kid who's like this pianist prodigy who is killed. Him and his parents him and his mom and dad are killed, but he is brought back to life like after his heart stopped beating for 17 minutes, and because of that, he starts seeing dead people. It kind of becomes like flatliners, basically. And he's also being hunted down by the guy who killed him too. And it's a really good story. Like, it was kind of not a bad story, which it also involves like this girl who also can see the dead people because she tried to commit suicide. She was dead for like 6 minutes, and it's a fun story. Like, I was interested in where it was gonna go, and I liked the kid, and it was a pretty good story. I liked it a lot. It was definitely ended the movie on a good note. If at least it didn't end with that piece of shit story that it ended. That was before it. I was happy they didn't switch those stories. I would have been like, fuck this movie. And then it kind of ends with the projectionist or whatever, kind of wraps it up or whatever. That's about it. This movie, like I said, it's a fun sit. I recommend it. Kinda. Like I said, you can watch it like on Vudu or whatever for like $1. It's a fun little rental. It's 2 hours. Like, I kind of like the VHS movies a little bit better than this, especially VHS 2. I like that a lot better. That was like a half hour shorter. I like this better than VHS Viral. As far as like comparing it to other anthology horror movies, recent times. But I did like this. I thought it was fun. It was a fun sit. I didn't regret it. It took me a couple days to watch because I was fucking working every day. So, I mean, it was hard for me to kind of sit down and watch like the whole movie. I had to watch it like 5 sittings. So, yeah, I recommend Nightmare Cinema. It was fun. I'll be back. I know my next horror movie review is probably going to be Zombieland 2, and also be reviewing Maleficent 2. But yeah, that's as far as what's coming up next. And until then, I'll talk to you guys later.